Right. April 23rd here today. And I know some of you might be having issues with Sitepop. I know, Russ, I saw your emails here just a few minutes ago when I was going through there. Um, we are working on that stuff. We had to convert to a new database. We had outgrown, we were using that MongoDB database, and it was really starting to hit the edge of its limitations. So we had to completely reconfigure our back-end software, and everything looks really great. It looks a lot better. The control panel looks a lot nicer. But as always, whenever you do software updates and upgrades, there's always some bugs that need to get ironed out in that transition, and that's kind of where we're at. So just be patient. Our Windows 10 device is not connecting. We know about that. We're working on getting that resolved, hopefully by the end of the week here. And some other just oddball issues in the reporting in the back end. So anyway, apologize for that stuff. That's software. always happens. Never a dull moment. All right. Anybody want to start the party here? Tell me where I can be of assistance.
Hey, this is Michelle. Hey, John.
Hey, Michelle, how's it going?
Fine. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Hey, a question for you in regards to Sitepop.
Uh-huh.
If you're noticing on the reporting that some of the search terms that you had entered are saying NA, does that mean it's because of what's going on now, or is it just possible? Because some of the other search terms are reporting back as far as placement. But
Okay.
does that mean it's possible that it's this issue, or is it possible that nobody's searching for those terms?
It's possible. Well, what NA means to begin with, NA means that the search keyword has not been found yet. So if the term is not getting found, like it's a term, let's say, that's not in the top 100, and it's a term that even when you revise it and add the brand to it, it's still not in the top 100, that's where you would get an NA. Now, if you've got connected devices and you're getting searches right now and it's still an NA, I would say that's more than likely what the issue is. So you might want to take a look at the keywords. If you've got NA keywords, you're better off to remove them from the project temporarily and let more keywords hit the other ones, or let more searches hit the other keywords. One thing about Sitepop, it'll allow you to put 12 keywords in. It doesn't mean that you should. The more keywords that you add in, the less searches you get per keyword.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because you get, if you have two devices connected, you'll get about 500 searches a month. And if you divide that between the keywords, the more keywords, the less searches per keyword.
Okay, so if I went in, if I modified, if I go, and this is a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
If I've gone in and modified my campaigns and added some other ones, I'm still connecting it to my phone, which I downloaded, the app and have it connected to my device. Is that the wrong way to do it?
Well, you have to have one device can only be connected to one project.
Okay, so that's where I'm going wrong. Okay.
So if you're
I have my somebody on my board connect to the other projects or something,
correct.
that will work.
Correct. Yes.
If I delete a project, can I connect a new project to my device?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, when you connect the device to a different project, you're abandoning the first project, so that project will no longer get searches for that device. It's like each device connected gives you a credit on the network for about 250 searches a month.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's how we had to do it to make the math work out. Because if you took one device, that device is only doing about, roughly 17 searches a day on each device on average. And if you have one device and you connect it to multiple projects, the math doesn't work out there. We wouldn't have enough collective searches in the network to come out even at the end of the month. So
makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we also have it to where when the devices are checked periodically throughout the day to see if they're active, and searches are scheduled for the following day. So like it looks at your activity today, how long your phone was connected, and then based on that, it will allot and schedule the searches for the following day. So
Okay.
let's say you only had your device connected for 12 hours, then you're going to get 12 hours worth of searches on the network the following day.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why it's important to connect two devices and keep them on all the time if possible. And in a lot of my my commercial customers, I'll actually connect 3 devices just to make sure there's always enough devices, you know, to get them all the searches that they need.
So you're doing like their computer, their phone, and something else?
Yeah, yeah. Most everybody has 2 cell phones, and the ones that don't, like I have had cases where I'll actually buy a cell phone and send it to them, because you can go to Walmart and Target, or you can do it online now. Yeah, I just looked up yesterday. There's a link that I just put up in the members area where you can literally buy the Android phones for $19.95. So 20 bucks, and you've got a device now that you can send it to a client. You can pre-configure it, send it to them, and say, "Hey, can you plug this in, connect your Wi-Fi, and and just restart it periodically every few days just to make sure it stays connected." And most clients, like our clients, when we have SEO clients, they like to be involved. I mean, they don't want to do much, but they like to be involved. So whenever I have conversations with customers, they're always asking, "Is there anything I should be doing?" And here you can say, "Yes, absolutely. It would help your project tremendously if you would connect these devices, because this creates search volume on our network that we can send you more traffic, or we can send you more search volume rather. It's not actual real traffic that's going to buy their stuff, but it's search volume that's going to increase their ranking. So Google sends them more real traffic that will buy their stuff." So
Gotcha. Okay.
they're very, like, I've got some guys that are resellers, and they're really, it's almost like they're afraid to talk to their customers or something. And I'm like, that communication between clients is what's going to keep people connected to you, and they like that. Like, they don't want to do stuff. If you're giving them stuff to do every time you talk to them, they might not want to take your call. But if you're talking to them about how you can help them benefit, and how little things that they can do that will improve their outcome, they love that. That's high value, and you're not really charging them for it. So that's a really good thing to do. You want to talk to your customers. You want to ask them, you could ask them, say, "Hey, if you want to, there's some stuff that you could do that would really help us." And they're always on board with it. If you just ask them in the right way, they'll always be on board, because it's, you're working for them. It's almost like the Jerry Maguire thing: help me help you.
Right.
And they're like, "Okay, well, what can I do?" And it's a pretty simple thing. Connect this Android phone to your Wi-Fi and plug it in. Just leave it in your office somewhere, or at your house, or whatever. It's a pretty simple request.
Yes. Okay, that makes more sense. All right.
Yeah, especially if you configure it for them. I mean, you take it, plug it in, configure it, download the app, and they literally have to do is just plug it in and connect their Wi-Fi. That should be pretty easy to do. So
Got it.
cool stuff. All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. All right. We'll open it up. Roy, go. You had a question there. You need to unmute. I took care of it for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, on traffic oxygen,
Okay.
I'm trying to get this set up, and I've installed my Google Tag Manager on my sites,
Okay.
and but it doesn't really tell me where I go from there once I do this in the process. Are there instructions somewhere that I'm missing on how to proceed?
That's actually Chris's network. I can connect you with him, but here's what I know about the Google Tag Manager. It's a
Okay.
shell. So inside Google, like where you set up your Google Analytics and your webmaster tools and all that stuff, there's a thing called Tag Manager.
Right.
And what it does, it creates a shell tag to put all of your cookie tags and your pixel tags and stuff inside one shell. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but
No,
that's
I'm not. I'm just trying to follow his instructions, but
okay.
he wasn't. That makes sense. So now I probably need to put some tags in there, but I
Yeah,
don't see any instruction on how to do this. So maybe I should contact Chris.
yeah, he would be able to walk you through that. But as for anyone else, like if you're, let's say you're doing Facebook ads or you're doing retargeting ads, it doesn't matter where. You could be doing them on the local Oxygen site or Traffic Oxygen site, or through AdRoll or Steelhouse or wherever you're doing your retargeting. Even Google itself. Google has a retargeting platform. They give you these little codes, and including Google Analytics. That's another little code. Any of these codes that you can put on your site, basically to collect data. They're data collection codes. And they're called a lot of different things. In Facebook, they call it a pixel. Put your pixel code on. Google calls it tracking codes. It's all the same thing. It's just a little line of code to collect data. And what Google has done, because that can be an ominous task. If you've got 10 of these tags you need to put on your site, and you need to put it on every page and then manage them. Like let's say you have a change to a tag. Now you got to go back and you got to update it everywhere. So if you put it inside the Google Tag Manager, now you don't have to go back to your website. Once the Tag Manager is put on your pages, you can just literally go back into the Google Tag Manager and update your tags. Like let's say you want to add a tag, you have one place to go and add it, and then it updates because that Tag Manager box is already installed on your website. So that's why they wanted you to use the Google Tag Manager, just to simplify that process for you.
So how can I get in touch with Chris?
Chris, you can get him, his email, I believe, is chris@trafficoxygen.com.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Thank you.
If you have any trouble, shoot me an email and I'll connect you with him on Skype or something.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the Google Tag Manager, it's a good thing. It's kind of, it might be a little tough to find because Google has gotten so much stuff now. It's like when you log into your Google account, there's like hundreds of little things and it's like overwhelming. So, but if you just go to Google and you type in, do a search for Tag Manager, it should take you right there, and it's pretty simple to set that up. And then you can set up your same place. You can look for your Google Analytics. You can set that up, and again, it's just a piece of code you can put on your site. It also gives you a unique ID. It's like a Google unique ID, and what happens with that, if you have WordPress has plugins where if you want to run Google Analytics on your WordPress site, you install the plugin and then all you have to do is put the unique ID in, your Google Analytics ID, and then it does it all for you. So that there's a couple of different ways to do that. Linda wants to know, how does the second phone help? Each phone that you connect, and this is specific to Sitepop, phones we refer to as devices. It could be a phone or a computer. You can use Windows 10 or Mac computers. We do not have it for iPhone currently, but we have it for all the Android phones. So whenever you connect we call it a device, a phone, when you connect one to a project is like your website that you want to push searches out to get Google to recognize you're popular. Each phone you connect gets you 250 searches out of our network. And we recommend 2 because 500 is where we found the sweet spot really to move the needle on pushing search rank. Is about 500 searches a month. And we split that between, you know, up to 12 keywords. Now, if you're trying to rank a fairly competitive keyword that has a lot of searches coming in for it, it's better to use less keywords. Like if you used 2 keywords, you'd get roughly 250 searches to each one of those keywords. That pushes them pretty hard. If you want to know like how many searches you need to really move the needle, and you really want to knock it out of the park, what we say is look at the search volume for the keyword. Like I use SEMrush, and it will tell me for any given keyword how many people are searching on it per month. So if there's, let's say there's 1,000 people searching on a particular keyword, usually that will be fairly competitive. So for Google to really pay attention to that and say, okay, these guys are, I should be sending all the traffic here, it's about 60%. You don't need or want to go beyond about 60%. So that would be 600 searches. So one keyword and you're getting 500 searches there, you're pushing on it pretty hard. So that's kind of how we do the math behind the scenes to see how many searches are necessary. Now, if you did more, you get fewer searches per keyword. So yes, absolutely on that. You get less searches, and it doesn't mean that it won't work. It just takes longer. Because what you're doing, in essence, you're training Google. Google has an algorithm called RankBrain, and it's artificial intelligence. And it's looking at all these user signals. It's looking at all the data. Like when you run a search on Google and you start typing in the search box, you'll notice a drop down comes down. And what that drop down is, that's Google's algorithm at work trying to figure out what you want based on past searchers. Because it knows when they start typing in, it knows what they complete, and it also knows where they go after the fact, and it tries to get you where you want to go faster. So it's a really cool thing. But what that, you know, and what you'll see, like you can start typing in something like, how do I play the guitar? And Google knows from past experience from all the users that started to type that search in, they know that ultimately that person is looking for guitar lessons. Even though that's not what they typed in, Google puts it together and says, oh, let's display guitar lessons for this person. That's what they need. So it's really short-circuiting the system to figure out where you want to go. And it's doing it based on its algorithm that is called RankBrain. And that RankBrain algorithm also is determining who belongs at the top for any given search based on the user actions after the search. Like when you run a search, the page that comes up on Google has some advertisements. Sometimes it has local listings, sometimes it has answers to questions, but then it has what's called the organic results, and this is where SEO comes into play, search engine optimization. There's 10 of those. So you are competing with 9 other people that Google is putting up a choice of 10. And if you're on that page, you're 1 out of the 10. So what happens is Google looks at what happens next. Like when they put these 10 selections up, which one does the user choose? Which one do they click on? And if more people click on, let's say number 6 is getting all the clicks, Google says, well, number 6 is the obvious choice. We should move them up to the top. And they know that any given keyword or any given search result, they know that based on past experience, 34% of the searchers will by default click the number 1 listing. Now, if they don't see that number hold true, if the number 1 listing is getting like only 20% of the clicks, then they assume they don't have the right one at the top yet. So then they'll shuffle the deck again, and it's like a huge split test. It's like a massive split test going on minute by minute to to figure out who's the best result for any given keyword. So that's kind of what's going on. That's what's happening and why it's happening and all that. So our Sitemap software, what it does is it's a massive network of devices, real devices like real cell phones, real computers, real users' devices. And it connects to our central server, and our central server sends out jobs. And the job would be, okay, open a web browser, and we run headless web browsers so the user doesn't see the activity going on. But in the background, that computer or that cell phone will open up a headless device, headless browser, and it will pull up Google, and it will run the search for your keyword. And it looks through looking for your website, and when it finds it, it clicks on it. And then once it clicks on it, it loads the page, it scrolls around the page a little bit, and it picks a link, and it goes to a deeper page. So it keeps doing this, and then ultimately at the end, it lands on your contact page, spends a couple minutes there, and then closes out the browser session. So what it tells Google is it says, of all the results you gave me, this is the perfect match. And when that happens over and over and over, Google's algorithm, it trains it. It retrains RankBrain that you belong at the top. So it's a very, very diabolical system. But that's what I've done. I've always been in, and I'm not a software developer, I'm an idea guy. I know how the stuff works. I look at the patents, I look at the patterns, and I figure out how the system works. And it's been my job for the last 25 years of how do I game that system without getting caught. So that's been my, if I ever had a superpower, that's it in the SEO world. And that's where a lot of people, I by no means think there's any truth to this, because I'm so lazy, there's no way I could be the best at anything. But there's people that say that, I'm one of the best SEO guys out there. I don't really believe that's true. I think there's some hard workers that could probably run circles around me because they work 10 times harder. But I'm always looking for the leverage points. How can I automate? How can I use leverage to move the needle? And I've created a pretty good following in the SEO world because of that, because there's a lot of people just like me that don't want to work hard. They want to get the results, but they want to do it in autopilot. And the biggest problem with autopilot is autopilot typically creates a big footprint that you can get tracked, and Google doesn't like that. So that if they can identify who you are and how you're doing what you're doing, they can ban your site. So that's the whole game of staying off their radar and doing SEO safely but highly effective. And that's the world I grew up in. So I'm very good at playing that game. Of all the years I've done this for commercial clients, I've never had a client site banned. Not once, not ever. I've always kept them safe. There's a lot of things that clients have asked to do, and I'm like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. Because they hear it, they hear what other people are doing to move the needle. And I look at it as, if you're doing something, and this again, I'm pretty much focused on SEO only right now in this conversation. When you're doing SEO activities on your site that are not normal to a regular business owner, I think that puts you in jeopardy. Like doing weird stuff that shouldn't be done, like a business owner wouldn't pay attention to that. That puts you on Google's radar instantly, because they know what real looks like. They're not stupid. Their team is highly intelligent. They are really good at doing what they do, and they're witch hunters. They're hunting witches with the purpose of hanging them. So if they find you as looking like a witch and acting like a witch, you're probably going to get hung. So I stay as far away from that as possible, and always have, always will. One of the things, throughout the history of SEO, One of the things was Google came out with a sitemap, and they said if you want to optimize your site, you need a sitemap, specifically a Google sitemap. And here, right next to that, in their terms of service, if you SEO your site, we will ban you. So here they're saying on one hand, if you SEO your site, we'll ban you. And on the other hand, they're showing you how to do it. And I'm like, why would anyone do that? Why would you put a Google sitemap on your site? There's no functional reason for you to do that. A business owner is not going out and building a sitemap, a Google specific sitemap. They don't do that. They run their business. They focus on what they do best. So all these SEO guys flock to that. They all put the Google sitemap on their site, and Google let that run for about 6 months before they pulled the rug. And there was so many sites that got banned, it was ridiculous. And it was all those sites that had that Google sitemap on it. Now the Google sitemap is still a thing. They claimed nothing, they claimed that had nothing to do with the site bans, but I can tell you for sure that that was the common thread. That was what pulled the trigger on that one. And there's been several things that throughout the years that they've done like that. And every time it's a trap, every single time they do it. And, you know, I think their newest one is this whole disavow tool. If anybody, like, this goes back quite a while. Link building was a big thing that Google went after with an algorithm called the Penguin algorithm. And this probably goes back almost 10 years now. It's crazy how time flies. But the Penguin algorithm, it was an algorithm to identify websites that had created unnatural links. Like they used anchor text link to manipulate the search hundreds and hundreds of times over and over and over. And when they identified that, what happened was, and this is really funny. I find a lot of humor in this because the SEO world thought they were getting penalized. They referred to it as a penalty, and it wasn't really a true penalty. What happened was Google was giving, they were giving rewards for links, basically. So what happened was when they identified the patterns for where those rewards were given out to the unworthy, they just removed the reward. They didn't penalize the site. The site dropped in rank because it removed all of the rewards that was getting in its rank in the first place. So all of the SEO community, they looked at it as a penalty when it really wasn't. It was just a removal of the factors that was giving them rank to begin with. That's different than a penalty. A penalty is where they actually put you in a penalty box, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're not coming out of it. That's a totally different thing. They just removed the ranking factors, and those people dropped like flies in the rank, and they thought they were penalized. So they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to get back in the rank. And Google came out with this thing. It says, oh, if you have bad links, you can disavow them. Send us a list of all the links that are not supposed to be pointed to your site, and we'll remove them, and it will help you in your SEO. That is complete bullshit. That I never saw that help SEO one iota. What it was you were raising your hand saying, yeah, I was one of those link builder guys that was trying to manipulate your results, and here's the blueprint of how I was doing it. I mean, how stupid do you have to be to hand over the blueprint of how you were manipulating Google? I mean, you just admitted that you were doing it. Are you ripe for a penalty there? I'm like, wow. And people flock to that. There was a whole industry created out of getting your links disavowed. And everybody that was on my side, I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. No business owner is going to go out and try and get links removed from their site. That's not natural. If you do that, you're putting yourself on the radar to get slapped big time. So again, it's a pattern. this pattern has gone on over and over and over. Google's guys, like I said, they're really intelligent. They know how to catch a burglar, and they set traps for them. So if you're going to operate in the SEO space, you've got to be very careful. You're walking on eggshells. There's things that you can do to move the needle, but you've got to do it in such a natural way that you could never be identified and targeted. And like I said, that's the space I grew up in. And because of that, I've never had one banned, for sure. So pretty cool stuff. It's like that whole thing. SEO is a whole world that most people are not aware of, and it's pretty crazy stuff. So, all right, any other stuff? I don't know if you guys want to hear more about SEO or you want to shift gears. I'm open for anything you need.
John, this is Gay.
Yeah, Gay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to send you an email about trying to contact Chris because I sent him an email over a week ago and still hadn't been able to get back.
Okay. I know he's really busy right now because we're in the middle of the whole Sitemap upgrade thing.
Oh, okay.
And that might be why. So
Okay. Yeah, because we're trying to work on this traffic oxygen thing and trying to get some information, and we're kind of at a standstill until we can get what we need to. So.
Well, if any of you are stuck on traffic oxygen, send me an email and I'll find out. I'll ask Chris tonight. I'm going to talk to him tonight. I'll see who on his team we should be directing those questions to, so that way maybe you guys can get answered quicker than waiting for him, because I know he's pretty busy right now.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
We have a fairly large fire under his backside right now, so his feet are moving pretty quick.
This is Callie. So, hi, John.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Did you get all dolled up this morning?
Oh no, that's why there's no video.
Waiting for tomorrow for that one, huh?
Well, in this quarantine, it's nice to just kick back and chill out.
Yeah, it is. I was just talking to Jim about that earlier. He's like, I am so grateful for this because it's given me the time to actually learn Kartra. and it's like, that is such a great skill set, whether you're using it for yourself or for others, to have that skill set at your fingertips, to be able to create a marketing campaign or even an opt-in and send that out to your list. It's awesome. It's a lot of power.
You know, I just found another tool in there. When you click on image that you want to upload, you don't have to upload an image. There's actually a full-on what do you call it? Royalty-free images and video within there. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. But
I've seen that, but I've never used it. Or does it have good images and stuff in there?
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. So my question is I almost forgot what my question is. Hold on. Okay. Do you know anyone that does that manages Facebook ad accounts?
Yes, I've got a couple of people, but I want you to not have any dissolution about it. If you get somebody to manage your account, you've got to be prepared to spend some money to make that worthwhile.
Yeah.
And if you want to make sure before you spend the money on running Facebook ads that you have your system down.
Okay, so I'll wait till that's handled because I'm still working out a couple of things and it's not quite ready to launch. But I guess what I was doing is I was trying at the same time to work on both tracks, get my Facebook ad account ready for when. So, yeah. So because I started an ad account and I wanted to add another one, but for some reason it's not allowing me to do that. And so it just takes a lot of time to do the research and go through it and stuff like that. But I have time right now.
Yeah. So like I'll give you an idea. If you're going to find somebody that's going to run Facebook ads and manage a Facebook account for you that's any good, you're going to spend about the industry average is 20% of ad spend. That's about what you're going to spend to have somebody run a traffic campaign for you. And
okay, what if
typically,
someone could teach me how to do that? I guess I could find someone online that could teach me how to do it myself.
there's a lot of courses online that teach Facebook ads. Where they kind of drop the ball is they drop the ball in the fundamentals, like the ACT. What you learn in ACT, they don't address that, and that's where the keys to the kingdom are.
Oh,
setting up
so
the
do you have a section of Facebook ads in there? Setting up the account?
I don't, because it's the whole ACT program is related to that.
Okay, I didn't think I saw that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like in the analysis part, when we talk about identifying your segment, identifying your avatar, and identifying what's important to them, and all that data that you were collecting up front, that related directly to traffic sources of where you're going to find those people online once you get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Facebook specifically, Facebook has what's called audience targeting. And if you don't target your audience right, you're going to blow a lot of money. And here's the thing with Facebook specifically, they have a really good algorithm. And their algorithm will figure out, it learns. It's just like the Google algorithm for RankBrain looking at user experience. They'll look at all the user experience from when they display your ads to certain people and how they react to them and which ones convert. And they will actually figure out what your ideal customer looks like inside their world. And then they can target them for you effectively. And it's like, if you can show me your 1 in a million, I'll show you 1 million of them.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's kind of the concept.
But it takes a little time, right? Like 2
well,
or 3 months?
Here's the thing. It takes more than time. It takes data.
Yeah.
So if you're running like $100 a month, or even if you're running $500 a month of traffic through there, it's probably going to take it 2 years to figure it out at that rate, because you're giving it so little data to work with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the guys that are running large amounts of ad traffic through Facebook, it's because the first few months that they did that, the algorithm was figuring it out. So they were taking a massive loss.
Mm-hmm.
They were taking a massive hit up front. And then it's a matter of, okay, now we know who to send this to. Now it's like, how much can we buy? But that's the problem. If you don't give Facebook enough target data to work with out of the gate, it takes it a while to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So things that you can do to help with that is, if you have a customer database, you can take your customer database, and if, let's say you've got, 1,000 customers and you have all their email addresses, you can upload that into Facebook as an audience. You can say, these are my customers. I want to find people that are just like them. And Facebook will take each one of those 1,000. That's data. You feed the data in. It looks at its whole world, its whole universe of users, and it says, what's common about these 1,000 that I could track? Are they all watching a particular TV show? Are they all belonging to certain types of groups? Do they all have a certain demographic involved? Do they all have certain likes and things that they're common? What are the common threads? And then Facebook will create what is called a lookalike audience.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll look at their universe and say, who do we have that looks like this? Let's run the ads out to them. So that's how their algorithm works. It creates a lookalike audience out of data. But if you're only running, a few $100s worth of traffic a month, for it to figure that out, you might run $500 worth of traffic and not make a sale. And basically, you spent $500 and Google or Facebook got zero data out of that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to run enough traffic to create probably 100 sales or more before they can effectively figure out what your lookalike audience really is, so they can go out and reach them. It's an expensive adventure.
Mhm.
So is there a way to
Yes.
resolve that? Like,
Yes, you
my
can.
thought was, is there a way to find out, like a competitor's avatar that Facebook has already profiled? Is there a way to not spend
Yeah,
a fortune and take the loss?
there is. And that's why, leaning back on ACT, that's in the analysis. That's what we're looking at. We're looking, in fact, we're using the Facebook as one of the pieces I talk about in the analysis part, is going into the ads manager and using the audiences, audience targeting, to find out how big particular audiences are, and making note of that, so when you get to traffic, you can absolutely target specific things. Like you could go in there and you could run an ad if you wanted to reach, let's say, all of Craig Duswalt's fans. You could go in there and you could say, I want to display my ad to anyone that likes Craig Duswalt. And you could cross-reference that with someone else, like James Malinchek. You could say, anybody that is a friend or likes or follows James Malinchek and Craig Duswalt, those are the guys I want to target. And then you pay for the traffic now to reach those, to put your ads in front of those people. And then Facebook will see who converts. And they take that data of who converts out of that first audience pot, and they say, okay, who do we have that looks just like this, that's not necessarily connected to Craig or James? And then they test that. And it's just, that's how they build their data behind there to figure out who's your ideal customer.
Hey, John.
But if you don't give them that information to begin with, you're going to spend a lot of money to figure that out. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So yeah, sort of related to that issue, I have a database from a former project or client that never paid us. That it's like 10 million records of weight loss clients or people interested in weight loss, but I can't really use the database because they're first, it's an old database, and then the other thing is that it's probably anti-spam laws. But could I use that database to do, like you said, the lookalike upload to a Facebook sequence?
Yes, because you're not emailing it.
Oh, perfect.
You could load that up as a lookalike audience, because Facebook isn't contacting them directly.
Holy moly.
Yeah, what they would do is they look at that and they say, who do we have that matches this profile? Because like when you create a Facebook profile, every user that has a Facebook account has a Facebook profile.
Right.
And what you do is they ask you a whole ton of questions. They ask you, like, what TV shows do you like to watch? What music do you like? What restaurants do you like? Are you married? What's your income? What do you drive? They ask a ton of questions. Where'd you go to school? They're looking to tie common threads together. And here's the other thing, even if you don't answer those questions, they get the data from other places. They share data with American Express. American Express is like one of the biggest consumer databases on the planet, with the most information you can even imagine. I mean, you think the IRS is under your skin. These guys know everything about what you've purchased. If you've purchased stuff with credit cards, they can tie that back to 20 years ago. They know, like, if you purchase something that has a 20-year shelf life, they know when you're going to need a new one. It's crazy.
So basically that would correlate, that the database would correlate to specific, I can break it down by zip codes and do a sample data set for like Portland or LA or whatever, and then upload for that campaign, or how does it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much, like when you get into data mining, That's a whole world in itself. And figuring out, like, it's that, it goes back to that saying, if you show me you're 1 in a million, like if you could pick the best customer out of 1 million people, if you can show me that person and we can connect the dots on the common threads, we can find 1 million more of them for you.
Well, maybe we can talk offline about this, because I've been trying to figure out what to do with this database for the last 5 years. Had no ideas because I couldn't really use it.
Yeah, there's the data is really powerful. Data is like the whole driver behind conversion. The more you know about somebody, like that's my whole analysis piece. The more you know about a person, the more you know how to talk to them. The more you know what's important to them. The more you know their buying triggers. You know what drives them, what emotions are behind them. And when you figure that stuff out, that's your key to conversion, because that's the conversation you need to create with them.
So once I've uploaded this account, how would I be able to get valid opt-ins back from that record set?
Well, your opt-ins back would be people that bought. Like if you upload that into Facebook and you run an ad campaign and you convert, you're going to have the conversion data. So you'll be able to match it up and say, okay, of these 1,000 people, there was, 50 of them that converted. So now you've got a new data set. Now you've got, not only you've got the 1,000 people that you thought had common threads, now you've got 50 of them that have a tighter knit common thread. And you're getting closer to your 1 in a million.
Right.
Once you figure out what the common thread is with that 1 in a million, then Facebook can go out to its billion people in its universe and start hunting. And it knows the animal it's looking for.
Okay.
Instead of just dragging a net through the ocean and picking up everything on the seafloor when all you want is lobster, now they know how to hunt the lobster. They can make the net the right size so everything else flows through, and it just plucks the lobster off the seafloor.
Okay, great. Well, I had one other question, but I'm going to let someone else ask right now so I can frame it correctly, but it has to do with sequences, and we had a problem with getting an email to go out later, but I need to frame the question. So anyway, let someone else ask a question.
All right. Gwen has a question here about Kartra buttons. She says she clones her button, but then can't drag it and scroll the page at the same time. That is highly annoying. I know where you're at, Gwen. Here's something that might help. If you hold your control key, this is, I don't know about Mac, but this is on PC. If you hold control.
I'm on a PC.
You are on PC?
Yes.
Okay, so this will work for you. Control and minus will shrink the size of your screen so it shows more.
Okay.
So if you keep doing that, you'll get it down to where the whole page is on the screen, and then you can drag it without having to scroll.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I've been trying to make it, I moved it to a larger screen and I got one in there, but then I can't get to the bottom, and I'm like, I just need to move.
Yeah, so you might have to hit control minus like multiple times to get it down to where you can work with it. But then if you want to go back, control 0 will put it back to normal in one click.
Control 0. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a cool little trick for that. And it's not just Kartra. There's a lot of programs that have that same kind of issue. It's like real touchy on the scroll, and sometimes you go and then it scrolls like too far, too fast.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good little trick for that one.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right.
Hey, John.
Yeah, Carolyn, how's it going?
Super fantastic. How's it going with you?
I just couldn't hardly be better. It'd be illegal, I think.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you about this program that my friend just turned me on to. It's called Crystal Knows, or Crystal Insights. And it does a personality assessment of people on LinkedIn. And I think it also does even personality assessments on Facebook.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, definitely a good thing to do, especially before you talk to somebody, one
Yeah.
of your potential customers.
Do you have a link to it? If you have a link, you can put it in the chat for everybody.
Sure, I can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was another guy I met many, many years ago. He had a company called, what was it? I think it was called Crystallytics. And that reminded me of him. And I don't remember exactly what his program did, but I remember that I thought it was amazing at the time when I was looking at it. Back then I didn't know what to do with it. But it was really, really cool. I should
Yeah, so it seems to be very cool. So I thought everybody might enjoy checking that out.
Yeah, yeah. Analytics and data is really, really powerful. If you look at like some of the top guys, and even in advertising, you know, if you go to ad agencies and stuff, they're doing data mining. They're using that for research to figure out what's important to people and where groups are, and you know, all of that stuff. Data is incredibly powerful. It's like the more you know, the more powerful you become. And not only from a conversion standpoint, but from a traffic standpoint too. Because if you know where your audience is hanging out, you know how to access them there, that's really powerful data. And if you know exactly how to speak to them when you get there, that's even more powerful. That's conversion. So traffic and conversion together are where it's at. If you don't have both of them, like you might be able to convert, but you don't have traffic, that doesn't really help you all that much. You might have traffic, but not be able to convert it. That's just expensive and frustrating. So when you can connect the two together, that's where money's made. You know, money is made every day through traffic and conversion. And the guys at Digital Marketer, they actually coined that term. They have a whole trade show called TNC, Traffic and Conversion. And they were right on the money when they did that. I mean, they could not have been closer to the truth with that whole deal. So yeah, so everybody, Carolyn put the link in there. Crystal Talk Now Nows.
Crystalknows.com.
Oh, Crystal Knows. So it's,
And I ran a profile on one of my connections, and it was amazing because it tells you how to talk to the person as well as gives you some email suggestions.
oh, cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm going to check that out for sure. That might be something worth adding into the ACT program.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
how much was it to run?
Well, you can run it for free. There's a certain amount of profiles that they'll let you look at. And then if you want, they also have a yearly option where it opens up more profiles and more capabilities of it. And then if you really want to go full blown, it's $29 a month. And I obviously give you everything then as much as you want.
Yeah, that's not bad. For if you can get good data like that, that's definitely, that would be a bargain. But it might be, you know, if you're running this just for your own stuff, you might be able to use the free version and get everything that you need, kind of like with SimilarWeb. That's one of the programs in the ACT program that I talk about to do competitor research. You can go to SimilarWeb without a paid account, just for free, and you can drop in somebody's website address, and it will give you a tremendous amount of data about their traffic, about where their traffic is coming from. It'll give you like the top 5 sources of pushing traffic into their site, and it'll also give you the top 5 sources of where that traffic is exiting and going to. So that data right there is very, very valuable. Finding out, you know, if you have your competitor's site and you know where their traffic is going to, why wouldn't you contact those 5 websites and see if you can put a banner ad on there? You know, just go direct and see, you know, say, hey, how much would you charge me to put my banner on your site? Most people do that. It's like free money. And a lot of website owners, they never even thought about it. But when you contact them and you say, hey, I love your site, I think I have a good offer that would be, you know, good for your audience. Would you mind if I paid you, you know, $100 a month or a couple $100 a month and put my banner out on your site? Most website owners would go, hell yeah, because that covers all their costs. I mean, imagine that if somebody was coming in willing to pay for your Kartra account, your hosting account, and all of your overhead just to put a banner on your site. Most of you would say, hell yeah. Why not? So contact them. You would be amazed at what will happen if you just ask. But you have to know to be able to ask. And that's another thing. When you do retargeting, like let's say, I'll use AdRoll as an example because I know this works in AdRoll specifically, but most retargeting networks work the same way. When you put your AdRoll pixel on your site, whether you're paying for the ads or not, you're collecting an audience because everybody that goes to your site, it pixels them and it gets their data. Well, that tracking code,
John, what are you saying? AdRoll?
AdRoll.
AdRoll. And,
Yeah.
and what is that? And I don't know what a pixel is. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The pixel, I covered that earlier in the call. The pixel is just a little piece of code that collects data when somebody lands on your site. So it's like a tracking code.
Okay.
Like Google Analytics is a tracking code. This is the same thing. The purpose of the pixel code is to collect data so you can run display ads out to people that have been on your site. That's called retargeting. That's like when you go to a site and then you look at a product and then you go to CNN or a news site and that product is following you around. That's from that pixel set that up to happen. But anyway, in AdRoll, when you create one of their pixels and you start collecting data, it's going into the AdRoll control panel. And one of the things that will show you is it will show you your exit traffic. It will show you where the people on your site are also visiting, which is really cool. You can connect with those webmasters and ask them the same thing. Hey, you know, would you like to put my banner on your site and I'll pay you for it? Most of them will say, yeah, I'll do that. That would, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer. So cool stuff. All right. Because again, you know, data, the more you know about the behavior of your audience, the more you'll be able to convert, the more you'll be able to conversate, the more you'll know where they are, when they are, what they want, when they're there. It's amazing. You know, like if you have people that you're targeting on Facebook, Facebook's really hard too. Any social media platform is really hard to grab attention because they're not there to look at your ad. You know, they're there to do whatever they're doing there. They might be posting, they might be, you know, following their friends and family. They're not really in the ad mode. They're in like a totally different mindset. So for you to grab their attention, you got to be really good. You have to have something that really grabs them. And then now you've got to redirect them. You've got to refocus their attention. You got to take them out of what they were doing and literally move them in a different direction. That's hard to do. You can do it, but it's very difficult to do. And that's why a lot of people spend money in social media and it never converts for them. They never make a dime doing it. And they just think it doesn't work. Well, it's not that it doesn't work. They didn't have a plan to make it work. They just showed up and expected things to magically fall into place, and they don't do that typically. So there's a science to this. Like when I was going through the 3 2-day trainings, I was talking about, you know, this is a combination of math, science, and art. And unless you get the 3 working in combination, you know, your advertising and your marketing probably isn't going to work very well. Not to say it won't work at all, but it won't work to its optimum potential for sure. You have to have all three. You know, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to know the, you know, the psychology behind it, the science behind why, what their drivers are and all that, how to create that conversation. And then you've got to use the artistry to pull it all together, to grab their attention, you know, make it look good. And also, when I refer to art, I'm talking about creative brain power, you know, not just like Allie's an artist, you know, she makes beautiful art on canvas and sculpture and what have you. That's not the art I'm talking about, but it's the creative process. It's taking that creative process and building an ad campaign around it that's going to resonate. Like when people look at her art, the people that her art is right for, they just like melt. They fall in love with it. That's art. So you need to create ads that your people, when they see your ad, they'll melt. They'll fall in love with it. The messaging will hit them right. It will create an emotion in them that compels them and draws them in. So that's where math, science, and art, the blending of all three of those modalities, is what will make you a rock star in the advertising world. And that's what will make your business take off. You know, if you want to know how to grow your business, I don't care what business it is. If you want to grow a business, that's how you do it. There's not, you know, I mean, there's not a lot of other ways I know how to grow a business other than that. And
so
yeah,
John,
go ahead.
So I'm hearing you, and I've been watching the training videos for the ACT program, and then got, based on our last conversation with Woody and redirecting toward coming up with real estate program, he kind of got, I think it threw him for a loop, and we haven't made forward progress. So I have two things, and they're different. One, I'm an award-winning creative director and years ago in advertising, and I know the creative factor. That's my wheelhouse. But I've never been the math and science, the tech stuff is definitely not. So when I was I've always worked, back in the day, I worked for ad agencies, and you know, they have everybody in their wheelhouse niche, so you work with teams. So for me, I'm struggling with developing how to wrap my brain around the math and science, and I'm
okay. Well, let me like just take the stigma off it for you. The math, I'm not talking about like calculus and algebra and all that stuff. I'm talking about simple stuff like, do we have enough people that this makes sense for? That's the math I'm talking about. And the people that we do have that we're going to be able to attract in, what else could we sell them? Or what's the lifetime value? Are they going to buy a lot of stuff from us, or is it going to be a one-time thing? So that's the only math I'm talking about here. Are you good with that? You comfortable with that kind of math?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the science, it's the same thing. The science is, what color do they like? That's the science I'm talking about, so the artists can come in and make the right painting.
Okay, well, thank you for that, because I was thinking, God, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to get it because I'm not a math scientist. Like, you know, the tech and the whole, like, I love that Callie has Chris, because
yeah, no, you
like the tech genius. So, because I was feeling like, I feel like
You know what's so funny? I find it fascinating that everybody thinks my husband is behind me. I mean, he is behind me, but.
No, Callie, I know you're really smart and you have all the tech stuff too, but at least you guys have each other.
I appreciate that. Like,
no,
I created a video and sent it out.
Callie,
everyone was saying, "Oh, Chris, you did such a great job." I was like, "What? I love him. He's brilliant." But never mind. I shouldn't have interrupted.
Hold on. Let me say this. I always listen to you and I think, "Wow, she's so smart. She
No, my ego interrupted. Sorry about that. Ego, go away.
Right, but just to soothe and correct something that I put in the space, I wasn't saying that, Chris, I was saying that you have team and that you can, it's clear that you understand technology and you have a brilliant mind. You ask wonderful questions. So I was pointing to, I feel like I get, my program says, you're never going to be able to do this, Allie. You don't have all those moving parts. And I'm trying to help someone else, and he doesn't have, like, we are stuck with even John, we're stuck with
Well, did
figuring out the avatar and if there's a product to sell, like, so I'm like just trying to get something going for Woody. And then also I'm thinking constantly about myself and how to deploy something for my own benefit as well, if that makes sense, with my own limitations of, like, I have so much experience, it makes me nuts. Like, I can look at branding, copywriting, all of that, and I'm brilliant at all that, and then I'm not at what I'm not. It's,
well, did you notice the process that I used to get to the bottom of Woody's deal? Did you notice it was like pulling teeth to get to what I
yes,
needed to get to?
yes,
And I had a process to get to it. I got to it pretty quick once we got started.
yes,
I unraveled that puzzle really fast. And he didn't necessarily like the outcome, but it was the true outcome.
right. So
It's like if you try and lead people down a path and you're not showing them what's really driving it, that's kind of false. That's not something that you want to do. You can't sell hope and not give them a delivery mechanism. And he had completely disregarded what his delivery mechanism was. I'm like, you're showing them where you are now. Let's show them how to get there. And we figured out he got there with real estate. He has a system that created his joy and his hope. And I'm like, Woody, that's your product. That's how you're going to get them the joy and hope, because that's how you got it. You know, selling them the end thing without a delivery mechanism, that's just cruelty.
right. Well, see, it's a little bit of a time, like when he was in the real estate business, it was before the cancer, the throat cancer.
Yeah.
And his breakthrough with joy and kind of becoming joyful was after the throat cancer, and he went into the dark night of the soul. And it's that, so he's kind of like, the real estate gave him wealth and success, but after the cancer, you know, he went through that dark night, suicidal, everything, and then he comes out, now he's on the other side of that, and he's in the space where he's so connected with letting go of all the things that don't matter and wanting to empower people to be joyful. But
Yeah,
I don't actually think
it was that wealth and success bridge that got him there. If he didn't
right,
have that to be able to climb out of, and that's what those people he's talking to, they don't have that. So if he doesn't give them that, they're never going to get out of it. He's just selling a pipe dream.
right. So yeah, so I understand what you were saying to him, and I am just trying to create a way to, because he's got, the disconnect is, I don't think he gets that he doesn't want to step back into real estate and enter in that world where he's teaching you, he's another one of 10,000 guys trying to hustle a real estate program. So that's the place, the pill, or how do we transform that for him to catch a vision that he's not going to be one of those 10,000 guys trying to hustle a real estate program.
Yeah, that's just a little, it's basically, it's the same mind work that you just experienced. You probably just experienced a breakthrough when I told you my definition of math and science.
Yeah.
Now, within seconds, you now see the world in a different light.
Right.
Right. And Callie is the same way. Callie, you and Callie are both very similar, and you two are powerful beyond measure. You just didn't realize it. And you were putting a bunch of labels out in front saying, I'm not this and I'm not that, when you really were. And I've done the same thing. I told myself I wasn't a good copywriter. I told myself I wasn't a good salesperson. And for me, it was a protective mechanism because I just didn't like those things. So I told myself I wasn't good at it, so I didn't have to do it. But the truth is, I'm very good at both of them. Just like you two are very good at a lot of the stuff you say you're not. and you're creating these labels. Like you, it was math and science. You were using that as a block. And now that block's gone, so you have no excuses.
Hi, this is Linda. Could you guys explain to me what you're trying to do with Woody? I'm kind of like
well, Woody is trying to sell a program about hope and what's he called? The joy.
Linda, he's in our mastermind.
I know.
He wants to start an Enjoy Your Joy movement where he helps people connect with their joy. And I totally get that. My Facebook page is called Radiant Joy Maker. So I had to laugh because all my life I'm like, how do you sell joy? You can't.
Yeah.
Right? What's the angle though?
He didn't have one.
He doesn't have one. And we don't know who our avatar is, and we don't know what product we're selling. Well, he says he has classes, but I wish he was on here today because he could talk to us. But anyway, so I'm trying to help develop all this for him. And as you all know, being the mastermind, I'm also trying to do it for myself because I'll get commissions for paintings, but you know, that's hit or miss. But like this back here, this
Beautiful.
picture is, I did the 70th anniversary murals for Pepperidge Farm. And, you know, like I have a lot of, so anyway, there's him and there's me. But Woody is very passionate about empowering people. He sees, so he says, enjoy your joy, crippled no more. Because he sees so many people, he uses this word crippled, which makes me
crazy.
It's not a word that I connect with, but he does. And he feels like he sees everybody crippled in some way. Like he'll say, I want to help those crippled in love, crippled in finances, crippled physically, you know, because, you know, he understands what it is to have something break you and then crawl back out and then, you know, have a transformation that allows you to deeply connect with your joy. And he's staying like he's consistently a joyful man now. And he's very, like when we talk, it's like John, we've talked, so he is, his mindset is very positive and he wants to help people. And I don't know how to, like, what product do you develop to connect those dots? That's what John has been very frank with him about. Like, we need to give someone a product that actually helps them, because I don't know how to sell joy. I don't know how to package it.
Yeah,
if anybody else does, let's work together.
The thing that he came to the conclusion, I led him on this journey of a conclusion that he has this joy because he can afford to be able to do the things he wants to do. And most of the people that he's going to be focusing on, they don't have that. They're missing that piece to the puzzle. And I said, well, Woody, you've got to give them the bridge so they can even try and reach for this thing.
Right.
Otherwise people are not stupid. People understand what's attainable for them.
But John, I think he's actually in a place right now where he doesn't have that bridge himself anymore.
Yeah.
Like when he had the throat surgery, it's very hard to, you know, honestly talk.
Yeah.
And people get freaked out by anybody with any kind of thing that, you know, we're as a species, we're uncomfortable looking at somebody that isn't whole, you know?
Well, I get that. I totally get that too. But if you notice what he's reaching for, he's reaching back to try and get something to put him back in that state. Maybe real estate for him, because of his current handicap, isn't the right thing. But it might be the right thing for the other people. And he can teach it. That's a vehicle that he can use to give them the vehicle for them and create the vehicle for himself. You have to work with the tools available to you.
Right.
If you become handicapped and you have to change your life, then so be it. You know, if you lose an arm, I don't think you're going to be a baseball player anymore, right?
Right.
But you could train baseball players, right?
So is he looking to be a coach or to take on private clients? I'm really confused.
He was
Or is he looking for
he was looking to
evergreen product?
Yeah, he was looking to make a jump that was it's an undoable jump, in my opinion, without a ton of money behind you. You can't create a movement without a massive amount of money behind you, or a massive amount of media exposure or something. You know, I come across people all the time that they want to make a difference and they want to create a movement in the world, and they are having trouble paying their own bills. And it's like, yeah, that the math here doesn't work.
Right.
The science might be there and the art, but the math isn't here.
Linda, to answer your question, Woody would like to develop a mastermind and a coaching, and I think he would like to develop webinars that are evergreen that he could put out there and sell, you know, and create some income. And genuinely, he wants to be of service. And like John said, there's a huge gap. John, we had an honest conversation where I think it derailed Woody a little bit because he has to wrap his head around developing a real estate program to a targeted audience, which, John, honestly, I'm having a hard time developing the targeted audience because it's too wide. You know, crippled in love, crippled in finances, crippled in everything.
Yeah, no, he has to focus on a target group and create. The program itself might be the same program he sells to everybody, but the ad campaign is not. The ad campaign has to speak to the particular person. So
right.
you can create, don't worry about that when you're creating the program. Like I created the ACT program for everyone, right? When I created the actual product, I wasn't worried about markets. I wasn't worried about avatars. When I create the marketing to sell it, that's where you have to do that. The product could be a generic product that could serve anyone. But then when you come to the marketing, that's where the narrowing of the audience comes down. That's where creating a successful ad campaign, you have to talk to one person. Once you get that dialed in, you've got an effective marketing funnel. Then you can clone it, you can duplicate it, and you can talk to another person.
Right, I understand that.
Another one.
That's brilliant. I got that. So John, when I watch the avatar, the analysis on ACT, the avatar and analysis part, I just downloaded the workbook. So I'm in the basic stages. So everyone, I appreciate your patience.
I'm right there with you, Allie.
I'm good. I'm trying to figure out so I have to go now back and watch with the workbook and try to answer the questions. When I answer the questions, now I haven't watched all the programmings or all the training sessions, but basically, if I answer the questions, is it valid? Or like, I don't know how to answer the questions, like with research, like I'm a little bit like, does this count? I don't know if I can even verbalize what I'm trying to say.
Sure, no, I get it. And that's a common question when you're going through the analysis piece of where do you get the data and how do you do that initial research. In a lot of cases, what will happen is you will find that you were your ideal client, but you are not today because you're not the same person. So you have to go back in your mind to when you were the right person and pull the data there. That was what I was telling Woody. I said, you're not the same person now
right,
as you were when you were in that dark hole. You know, you don't think the same, you don't act the same, you don't look the same, you're not the same person. So if you're going to resonate with the people that are there, you need to go back in time and figure out when you were there, what was important to you then, not what's important to you now, or not all the stuff that you know now. Forget that. They're not going to resonate with that because they're not there. You have to go back and resonate with them where they are to lead them out of it.
Right.
Yeah,
They
he's
don't-
got to find his broken winged people.
Yeah, if they don't connect with you, it's like having a salesperson sitting in front of you that is very pompous and on a high horse, and you're going to go, yeah, I'm not there. You don't get it. You don't get where I'm at.
Right.
I'm not you. I'm not there. And you can't do that. It doesn't resonate, and it doesn't convert.
Right.
You have to literally go back and meet them where they are to take them by the hand and lead them out.
Somebody wrote in the chat also that him delivering this once and then repeat, he's in a messy stage. That's kind of where I just came out of, and I'm clear about where I need to go and what I need to do to find my followers. But it's really speaking to a group of people, and you have to have your you have to have your message. And I don't get that he's got a message yet. He's got it in his mind, but it's not formulated yet.
Yeah, what he's trying to do is he's trying to say, look at me, this is really cool, you should all be here. And that ain't gonna work.
Well, I think he wants to help people connect with their joy, but
he does, but he's not going about it the right way.
Right, and so that's what we're trying to figure out, how the connections, we're trying to put the connections. So John's trying to help us, Woody, and I'm trying to help Woody figure out a product that serves an avatar that will appeal and make the connection, because his heart is in the right place, but we have to actually come up with something
who needs what he's doing? That's got to be a basic question. He's got to be able to answer. Who needs it?
Right. That's what we're trying to answer, Linda. And John, that's why we're working with John and the ACT system, because we are trying to answer that question, who needs this?
Well, I think that what he has come through is pretty remarkable. I've known Woody as Scott Blagman for many years, and I worked under in commercial real estate. I hung my license at one of his offices for years.
Oh.
So I know him very well. And I knew him before he had this handicap. And I knew him when it was really difficult to look at him, when he had that piece that he would hold to his throat and try to speak through. And I have to tell you, it was an amazing process that he went through, to wrapping it, because he was so self-conscious, to accepting it and letting it just simply be. I mean, it is the elephant in the room. And I love the fact that he is he's unabashed and unself-conscious about it. So it was a complete metamorphosis for him, because it was like, oh my God, I could die from this, to, oh shit, now I got a hole in my freaking throat, to what is everybody looking at? They must be looking and staring at me, to my voice. And how else am I going to
happy about it?
Yeah, no, it's not happy about it. I don't think that is something that you can ever be happy about.
Yeah,
but
he's at peace with it.
He's at peace with it, and I think ultimately, if we can be at peace with something, doesn't that give you some amount of joy?
Yeah, and that's what that's what John's saying. He's up here. I don't know if you can see my hand. It's like Linda, I would love to talk to you.
Yes, it disappears into your background, but yes.
Let me see if I can change my background. Hold on a second.
But I think the analogy of the baseball player losing an arm can still coach the team.
Yeah.
I love that analogy, John.
That's his thing. He lost his ability maybe to do the real estate, but he could teach that, and he could give that platform as a vehicle to take those people from hopelessness, to give them something to be joyful about. He can give them their life back by teaching them something he knows very well in and out. He can do that. That's what I'm saying. That's his product. That's his bridge. That's how he's going to deliver his
Then
promise.
it's easy to find his avatar at that point then too, John, because I'm in the same business and I'm in that same boat. So I coach people how I teach people how to close sales fast.
Yeah.
So and that's my thing. So but I'm using the real estate, which is what I know a lot about, to find my people. Of course, I'd like to be in corporate, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm in front of people as often as I can be. I talk about what I'm doing as often and frequently as possible. But my avatar is clearly not the new guy just starting up in real estate. He broke. They need what I do, but they are broke. They can't afford me. So then who is the next avatar? Who's that perfect avatar? It's somebody that's been there, that made that money, that knew what it was like, and they fell down and they've lost their momentum. They don't know how to get back up.
Yeah.
That's his guy.
Yeah. And Allie, back to your initial thing there of he doesn't want to be the 1 in 10,000 people doing the same thing. I think that's just a mindset thing. If you position it as Woody, you're a 1 in a million thing.
Yeah.
You're the guy that they're going to resonate with. These particular people they're not going to resonate with somebody that is up on a high horse. They're going to resonate with somebody that is, if he wants to call it crippled, somebody that is crippled just like them. So he's going to connect with them at a very deep level. He's going to be their guy. They're not going to want to go to somebody that is not crippled because they don't understand them. So how many crippled guys are there teaching real estate?
Not many.
Yeah, there you go. That just removed him out of the 1 in 10,000. That's his angle for it. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys, we've been on here an hour and a half. Anybody else have anything real quick here before we wrap
Thank you
up?
so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate all of your help.
Yeah, I think we covered some ground there for you, Allie.
Yes, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you all for being on here and sharing and bringing out questions and making this call really awesome. I appreciate it.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I just had a quick question on, we had a problem starting an email sequence, and for some reason the list didn't get out to the email group on the second event, and the only way we were able to do that was through a broadcast. How in the future can we get an email out to a second, basically it's the same class, same sequence, but a different email to the broadcast?
In your sequence, if you created a sequence, you can add as many follow-up sequence emails as you want. And if your class is on a particular date and you want that email to go the day before, it's really simple. You just set the timer for, the exact day and time you want that email to go, instead of saying like 3 days later or 5 days later or whatever. You can set a specific time for that email to go. And that's basically how you do it.
Okay. As a tag?
No, this is a sequence.
Okay.
A tag will start the sequence. Like if they opt in, you can set a tag that starts the sequence.
Yeah.
You have to have a trigger that starts the sequence. But the sequence is what you want to have happen after the sequence starts. And you can have an unlimited amount of follow-up in that sequence. And you can set the exact times that you want those emails to go out too, if you want. You could set it a day before, 4 hours before, an hour before, because it's all based on a calendar.
Okay, I'll type up that question because it's a little bit more complicated than I had thought. Callie had a problem with it, and I felt incompetent.
Yeah, it's kind of, you just have to kind of think it out and then set your sequence up, and then make sure that you have a trigger that fires the sequence.
Right.
whether it be
Yeah,
a
so the
tag or an
sequences have to
opt-in.
be totally complete before the first trigger. Because if it's triggered and then you add to the sequence after the trigger, it's not going to work. Then you can do a broadcast.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that once a sequence is triggered, I don't know that you can edit it in process. That one I don't know.
Yeah, the answer is no, you cannot add to once it's been triggered.
That's good to know.
All right.
My
Thanks.
dog say hello.
All right, guys. Well, have a great week, and we'll be back. I think we might be doing Wednesday next week because there's a bunch of stuff going on Thursday, Friday. I'll check with that and see if the times, but if not Thursday, we'll do Wednesday. We'll get our call in one way or another.
Great.
So I will keep you posted
Thank you so
on that.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
John.
All right, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
John.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Allie, call me.
Okay, honeybee.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, John.
Bye, you guys.